You do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter. He can punch, and he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger.
I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy.
Tank Davis is a violent human being. He's a savage, and he didn't feel in his element. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. If you're from the hood, you will know.
Several boxing insiders have weighed in, claiming that Jake Paul stands little chance if he ever steps into the ring with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. According to Shakur Stevenson, even though Jake holds a significant size advantage, it won't be enough to overcome Tank's elite skill set and ring IQ. Stevenson points out that Tank's technical ability and experience would ultimately control the bout. Rather than chasing a knockout, which might be difficult given Jake's size, Stevenson believes Tank would dominate the match strategically and likely secure a win by unanimous decision.
Difference between these two guys.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy.
Is there any way any realistic or legitimate way in your mind you could see Jake Paul winning a fight against Tank?
No.
No way.
Nope.
Not a lot of people have talked about Jake and say he's got good power. Not even, and I get anything could technically happen, but you don't even see a realistic shot where he could land one big punch, and Tank being so much smaller, he just can't handle the power.
Nah, not at all. I think Tank is he's been boxing his whole life. Been boxing since a kid, so I doubt like that's gonna be an issue or problem. I think Jake is good for where he's at, but I think it's just levels.
Do you see a more likely chance that Tank wins by decision or by knockout?
By decision. I mean, that guy's too big. I don't think that he's just gonna knock that guy out. So I see him like outboxing him.
Could you see a realistic possibility where Tank could knock him out? Although more likely that it is, like you just said, a decision.
Nah, I don't see him knocking him out, no.
Will you watch, Shakur? I mean,
no.
Obviously, no?
Hell no, nah, that ain't really like, I mean, like I said, here's the thing, like I got two sides of me when it comes down to I got a business side, then I got a competitor side. And from the competitive aspect, it don't excite me for me to be like, okay, I want to watch it.
Showbiz the Adult points out that Gervonta "Tank" Davis has already shown he can handle fighters with both height and reach advantages, referencing his dominant win over Ryan Garcia. He reminds fans that Ryan wasn't just taller, but also quicker and more explosive. Yet Tank managed to adapt and take control of the fight. The boxing analyst argues that if Tank was able to close the gap and outclass someone like Ryan, who has real boxing pedigree, then Jake Paul won't pose much of a different challenge. While Jake's size might look like an edge on paper, Showbiz emphasizes that boxing is ultimately a game of range management, precision, and fight IQ, areas where Tank consistently shines. According to him, Tank has perfected the craft of reading opponents, setting traps and capitalizing on mistakes. And once Jake steps into the ring, those elite skills will become clear.
Emotionally, see if he's rattled. See, when it's all said and done, the whole talking shit goes out the window. Jake's scared. And let me tell you this too. I looked at that, I'm sizing them up. I'm looking at Tank and Jake, and I'm looking at him. Tank can reach him too. He reached Ryan Garcia. He reached Barrio Barrios. I was like, he ain't gonna be able to reach him. He's gonna reach him, I saw it. So Tank's gonna reach him. He knows he's gonna reach him. Listen, I wanna say this too. Funny as hell. Before I say all this, Alicia Baumgardner, shout out to you, girl. I couldn't believe out of all the women to be the first one to do 3 minute, 12 rounds is Alicia Baumgardner. And I really know if I have a great endurance, great stamina, and she's doing this shit. Shout out to Alicia Baumgardner. Because, what's her name, Layla? I don't really know her like that. But she looks like she ain't rattled by Alicia. So that's a perfect dance partner for that. Trying to drag Alicia Baumgardner into lake water, see what's going on with that. Shout out to Alicia Baumgardner. But let's get back to Tank. First of all, Tank knows what he's doing. Tank Davis, he said, what he was just making all these implications that it's going to be scripted. When he said, "You're paying me," and then he was like, "Yo, you're going to have to give me extra," and then he said that this is scripted.
At the end of the day, I gave this little guy an opportunity. He should be thanking me. I'm paying him. I'm his boss. He reports to me, and I'm going to fucking son him on November 14th. So fuck you, little man.
You pay me? Are you paying me?
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Facts?
Correct.
Yes? Correct?
Correct. I'm your daddy.
Chris Algieri gives credit to Gervonta "Tank" Davis for his ability to generate huge buzz every time he steps into the ring. In Algieri's view, modern boxing isn't solely about skill. It's also about who can fill seats and reignite fan excitement. Tank, he says, represents this new wave of fighters who not only perform at a high level, but also draw widespread attention. Algieri also acknowledges Jake Paul's role in this shift. While Jake may not have the same technical background, his presence has undeniably brought new energy to the sport. His matches have attracted audiences that previously had little interest in boxing. Algieri sees value in both fighters, Tank and Jake, for helping to broaden the sport's appeal, each reaching different segments of the fan base and contributing to boxing's growing popularity in their own way.
The face of boxing could be Jake Paul soon, and the face of boxing is basically. Yeah, the face of boxing now is based on if you sell and if people tune in and how many eyes are tuning in when you fight. Gervonta Davis had that. Jake Paul has that. Now they're fighting each other.
Again, these are created products. These are still created products. Jake made his name going to Walgreens and then making funny faces. You know what I mean? And then it was just blowing up on YouTube and whatnot, right? I mean, that's how he started.
The world we live in now, dude. It's unfortunate.
Okay,
it's not like Sugar Ray Leonard, who was the best fighter in the world and marketable. It's not like Oscar De La Hoya, who was a gold medalist, great fighter, and marketable.
But what I'm saying is technology allows us to make, if I want to take this shoe off right here, and I say I want to make my Nike sneaker into the best product possible, and I got enough money to push it behind it. I put it all over your social media platform, and I put it all over your TV set and all over your phone and all over you know what, bro? You're gonna start to get curious about the shoe.
Charleston White openly criticizes Jake Paul's boxing career, describing it as more showbiz than sport. In his eyes, Jake's fights feel more like choreographed spectacles than authentic high-level bouts. White argues that Jake has yet to face a legitimate elite boxer who could truly challenge his skills, stamina, and ring IQ. His comments echo the sentiment of many traditional boxing fans who feel that Jake is exploiting the sport for fame and profit, rather than respecting it as a discipline. White believes that stepping into the ring with someone like Gervonta "Tank" Davis would reveal a stark contrast. Tank's elite training, sharp reflexes, and experience against top-tier opponents would quickly expose the gaps in Jake's game. For Charleston, popularity and pay-per-view numbers don't equate to greatness. Real fighters earn their legacy through genuine competition, not curated exhibitions.
YouTube boxing and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out, and ultimately everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him. And with these 12-ounce gloves on top of Gervonta Davis's hands, which is bigger, 2 ounces bigger, I do believe.
Teddy Atlas, a highly respected figure in the boxing world, draws a comparison between the idea of Jake Paul facing Gervonta "Tank" Davis and the exhibition bout between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. He notes that although Jake may appear to have the edge in size and strength, it's Tank's experience that would truly tip the scales. Atlas characterizes Davis as a master technician in the ring, someone who dictates the tempo, controls the space, and flows with a fighter's rhythm like a seasoned dancer. Throughout his career, Tank has faced high-caliber opponents and developed the instincts needed to systematically dismantle any style, regardless of size. In contrast, Atlas believes Jake lacks the refined timing and situational awareness that separates amateurs from elite fighters. He emphasizes that boxing isn't about who's bigger or stronger, it's about strategy, accuracy, and control. Every move Tank makes is purposeful, and every punch he throws is part of a larger plan.
Do I like this when I heard it? No, I didn't like it, to be honest, for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch, and he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin? What if he hits him on the chin? It'll wind up selling. And that's what'll wind up selling it. The what if. What if Tank makes him do a cha-cha? He hits him on the chin, and Jake Paul, we're going to find out if he can dance. Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, do the cha-cha. That's what's going to sell it. And you can't argue that what if. You can't. I know I get to places that other people will go and everything else that just dismiss stuff because it's easier to do that. It's safer to do that. You don't have the bows and arrows coming at you from people that argue with you because you did that. But I don't care. I've had bows and arrows my whole life. I don't care. But that's true. That what if? What if this guy who is a real good puncher, who is one of the best fighters in the world right now, what if he hits him? What if he makes a miss and he counters him? Or he jumps up in the air? Bang!
Showbiz the Adult also offers insight into Gervonta Tank Davis's demeanor outside the ropes. He acknowledges that Tank may not be the most media-savvy or charismatic speaker, but that's not what makes him intimidating. His confidence, Showbiz explains, comes from growing up in an environment where survival depended on toughness, not talk. According to him, Tank's presence at press events says more than any soundbite ever could. He never appears shaken or intimidated. His calm, composed body language speaks volumes. When he faces off with opponents, there's a quiet intensity that doesn't need words to be understood. Showbiz contrasts this with Jake Paul, who has mastered the art of self-promotion and media manipulation. While Jake uses hype to generate attention, Tank brings an unspoken energy that resonates without the help of marketing, a raw authenticity that can't be manufactured.
Tank Davis is a violent human being. He's a savage. And he didn't feel in his element. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. If you're from the hood, you will know. It's kind of like taking a guy from the block and putting him in the corporate world in a business meeting. He's going to be so out of his element that he's just, he doesn't even know how to argue without sounding like, I'm gonna whoop your ass, I'm gonna beat you. The way Jake was doing things, he had the clowns coming out.
Not everyone is convinced that Gervonta Tank Davis would have the upper hand against Jake Paul. Some analysts caution fans to consider the realities of weight classes, a fundamental aspect of boxing for a reason. While Tank's power and explosiveness are devastating at lightweight and super featherweight, stepping in against a much bigger opponent introduces a different kind of challenge. These experts argue that when a fighter who competes at 135 pounds goes up against someone who naturally walks around at over 190, there are undeniable physical hurdles, including reach, strength, and the ability to take punches. They suggest that even if Tank lands clean shots, Jake's larger frame might be able to absorb them in ways smaller opponents simply can't. In a sport where size, leverage, and impact matter, they believe the physical gap could neutralize some of Tank's usual advantages.
We want to know, who will win in this fight? Jake Paul or Tank Davis? It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who do you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think.
Personally, I think Tank too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking shoulder.
I think Tank too little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying. That weight class is for a reason.
Davis
that weight class is for a reason.
5'5", 135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205 pounds.
That's what I'm saying.
Bro.
He's
6'1", 205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank it only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight in these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. 135 pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 on the regular. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. that 30 pound difference, bro. If you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once.
No.
He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30 pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. And that's exactly what I feel like is going to happen versus Jake.
Despite the criticism, many fans admit that Jake Paul has brought a new layer of excitement to boxing. His presence in the sport continues to spark debate, blending controversy with curiosity. While some traditionalists view his fights as little more than money-making stunts, others believe he's injecting fresh energy into a sport that's been yearning for mainstream buzz. Jake has a rare ability to grab attention, whether people are tuning in to support him or hoping to see him fall. That unpredictability, the not knowing what might happen next, is what keeps audiences coming back. It's this spectacle that has reignited interest, especially among younger viewers and casual fans. Even die-hard boxing followers acknowledge that Jake has added a level of drama and anticipation the sport has been missing. Boxing has always thrived on big names, bold personalities, and intense rivalries. And whether or not Jake has the technical polish, he's become a catalyst for conversation and spectacle.
A lot of people said, this is bad for boxing, this is bad for boxing. Mate, calm down, calm down. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of him, but he's bringing a lot of eyes to boxing. A lot of eyes to boxing. He's doing great for boxing. I don't care what everyone thinks. The weight difference is mad though. Lightweight to, God knows, cruiserweight or whatever the hell he is. Or Gervonta might get thumped up, you know. Hey, if he gets bashed up, I can never go on TikTok live again. The TikTok warriors are going to give me a hard time. They're going to say Jake Paul's undisputed. Oh my God, he's the best thing since sliced bread.
British heavyweight Dave Allen shared a more measured perspective on the potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight. He admitted he wasn't a fan of Jake's previous rumored matchups with Mike Tyson or Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which he felt were more about hype than genuine competition. However, he sees the proposed fight with Tank as something a bit different. Allen believes that as long as the bout remains safe and no one is seriously hurt, it serves its purpose as an entertaining exhibition for the fans. While he doesn't consider Jake a top-tier boxer, he acknowledges that Jake's fights keep people talking and that buzz ultimately benefits the sport. According to Allen, there's real curiosity around whether Jake can handle someone as skilled as Tank and how Tank will adapt against a much bigger opponent.
An exhibition. Thing with Jake Paul, I think he's a good area title level fighter, and that's a good level. Like, and you can be proud of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good. But the Mike Tyson fight, I didn't like. The Chavez fight was just farcical because he's 10-11 years past his best, up 6 weight divisions. But less of a problem because Chavez wasn't in his 50s. Fighting the MMA guys again. He's fighting people that don't do the same. That they're not even in the same sport. But while they're a bit older, they're still not in the 50s. So all that stuff, I won't really watch any of it. I think I've watched one fight against Tommy Fury, the only professional boxer in and around his prime years, and he got beat. But I think his area title level, I think he works really hard, I think he trains hard, and I don't think he's a bad fighter at all. I don't think he's a good fighter, but he's not a bad fighter. For his experience, he's not bad at all. But Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. So, by all means, if they make a few quid and nobody gets hurt, then great. But I certainly wouldn't be paying a penny to watch it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous, farcical. Who wants to watch an exhibition? Gervonta Davis is in his prime years. Why is he wasting his time? Why is he having a rematch with the fella he got a draw with? Why is he not fighting?
This fight didn't come out of nowhere. Reports reveal that Gervonta Tank Davis has mentioned Jake Paul several times over the years, hinting at a potential showdown. Fans have long wondered if the matchup would actually take place, And now the talks have gained momentum. Both fighters have exchanged challenges online, signaling their readiness to settle the score inside the ring. Tank remains confident that he can expose Jake's vulnerabilities, while Jake sees this bout as his chance to prove he belongs among boxing's elite.
Yeah, you're seeing what I'm seeing. Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. I don't buy it for a second, but apparently they were in negotiations to have this fight happen if Tank Davis beat his previous opponent, which obviously ended in a draw. Which means he's obviously going to go and rematch Lamont Roach in his next fight. But come on, Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. Jake Paul is a cruiserweight / heavyweight. Tank Davis is a lightweight. This is Jake Paul's mindset. Okay, I'll fight a legit professional boxer, OAP. I'll fight a legitimate professional boxer who's his age, loses. Okay, I'll fight another professional boxer who's half his weight. Honestly, I don't care how big Jake Paul is, I genuinely do think that Tank Davis would beat Jake Paul. I think Tank Davis would be too fast, too slick, outbox him, move around. He wouldn't knock him out, obviously. I don't think he'd knock him out because of how big Jake Paul is, but he would outbox him 100%. But anyway guys, let me know what you guys think about this potential fight. I really hope it does not happen because Jake Paul needs to fight a legitimate pro who isn't a taxi driver, who isn't old, and isn't half his weight.
Final point of debate among boxing analysts centers on power and size differences. Gervonta Tank Davis is famous for his brutal knockouts at lightweight and super featherweight, but some question if that same power will translate against Jake Paul, who is naturally much larger. While Tank's punches can overwhelm opponents in his usual weight classes, the laws of physics come into play when facing someone near 200 pounds. A shot that might knock out a 135-pound fighter could have far less impact on a much bigger opponent. Jake's size, reach, and resilience could potentially diminish Tank's usual effectiveness. This isn't to say Tank lacks skill, rather the strategy and dynamics he typically relies on might need to adapt in this matchup.
Because yes, Floyd didn't have the punching power Gervonta had, but even if Gervonta lands, I don't see him hurting Jake to the point he knocks him out. So what are we even doing? Where's the idea of this where's the idea that Gervonta's even gonna hurt him? He may hurt him to the body, whatever. Jake doesn't want to throw as much, but I don't see him one punch knocking Jake out. And, the same thing was kind of said with Logan. Like, okay, Floyd probably won't knock him out, but probably going to outbox him. I get where Dana's coming from. These things are not meant to be competitive fights. They're meant to make money and to, I guess, scratch that itch of the circus mystery unknown.
And Gervonta, I think, hits way harder than fucking Floyd, but he's too small. I mean, your brother's going to be able to, get inside on him, put his weight on him, tie him up. But I don't hate your brother. Your brother's out there doing his thing. But it cracks me up that they want to start suing people that are talking shit when your brother talks more shit than anybody talks.
I think the thought process behind it is, okay, so Jake and I are obviously pretty polarizing individuals, and when an echo chamber starts and a rumor mill starts of like staged fight bullshit, which like these fights aren't staged, that's just, it's at that level, it's like almost impossible. I think they think that it affects the business and it affects the brand because people discredit him as actually having legitimate bouts. I think that's the theory. So to hold people accountable for
legitimate,
perpetuating the rumor.
Legitimate meaning not fixed.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And
which is, I mean, again, Dana would do the same thing if his company became known for doing fixed fights when they weren't. Then he would try to find the same way to hold people accountable if they were reputable people saying that, right? So the whole Jake suing people for blatantly trying to say he fixes fights or he stages fights or people have no knockout clauses and all the other bullshit, I understand. Now, again, people need to use their words more accurately if they're upset about what Jake is doing. All you have to do, if you're upset with the way Jake is moving in his career, is say what some people do say, which is, we like to see Jake challenge himself. We don't want to see these exhibitions, these fights that don't make sense for what you said you want to do or what you purport to want to be in the sport of boxing, which is a world champion. We want to see you fight active fighters around your skill level. That's it. But you can't go on there and go, oh, look, another rigged fight. Oh, look, another fake fight.
Wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more updates. Until next time.